My favorite thing is to give people the experience of a book. I do this for my 1-year-old nephew all the time, but it's even more impactful for adults. There's a study around experiential gifts and the meaning that they leave behind, even when the giver is not physically there. Turns out that consuming experiential gifts can make someone feel a greater sense of gratitude and a stronger sense of social connection. A book is the perfect way of helping someone feel inspired, seen, and supported to step into who they want to be. What I love about books is that they are single-purpose tools for the most part. You can't multitask on it with some other app. And so you are now also gifting someone moments of presence, solitude, and reflection in a time where it's scarce. There's at least a few books on this list today that will hopefully align with certain people in your life. The first book is Excellent Advice for Living, Wisdom I Wish I'd Known Earlier by Kevin Kelly. Now, Kevin Kelly is somebody who I loved reading his blog post, 1,000 True Fans. I've come back to it many times over the past decade. And when I heard this billionaire investor, Monish Pabrai, on a YouTube video talking about this book, it brought onto my radar that Kevin Kelly has a book in the first place. It's a collection of simple ideas that will ring true in your head for days or weeks after you've actually encountered it. And so I love those kinds of books that have that kind of wisdom contained in it. And so one of my favorite highlights from this book is don't measure your life with someone else's ruler. The second book is called The First Minute by Chris Fenning. And this is a book that I feel deserves to be in the hands of anyone who has to communicate for work, because as Chris reveals in the book, not communicating effectively is a huge reason that people do not get promoted at work. And there's a study that he references by Siemens Enterprise Communications, found that a business with 100 employees spends an average of 17 hours a week clarifying communications. That is 884 hours a year that could be spent delivering value to customers instead of repeating information to make sure it's understood. It's the kind of book that you read in one sitting and that will have you highlighting something on every page. Here's another highlight that I really liked. Research shows that poor first impressions can be reversed by a consistent, strong performance. It takes 8 good impressions to overturn a bad one. Now, book number 3 is called The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. This is a book I'm still shocked by how much of a lasting impact it has had on me after reading it, because it reveals your relationship with both inner and outer expectations. So why it might be easier for you to do things for other people versus doing things for yourself, or vice versa. Regardless of the tendency that you relate to the most, this book will make you feel like you've unlocked a superpower that you've had all along. Gretchen Rubin does a wonderful job of helping map out a path of how to express this superpower. And aside from helping you understand yourself better, it helps you understand the people in your life that you care about a level deeper. Now, the fourth book is called Peak: Secrets from the New Science of Expertise by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. I've listened to this book over and over like a theme song before I actually bought the physical copy. I have so many highlights from this book, and I think it'll appeal to anybody who cares about craft, mastery, performance, and expertise. Anyone who's ambitious or trying to get better at something will feel motivated by this book. The 2 main ideas that really stick with you for life in this book are number 1, deliberate practice, and number 2, developing mental representations. Every time I read or listen to this, I discover something new. Book number 5 is Never Enough: From Barista to Billionaire by Andrew Wilkinson. Bestselling author James Clear wrote a blurb for the back of this book that says it's like going to therapy and business school all at the same time. And I totally agree with that, because the storytelling is just so good that you can read through this in a couple settings. But if you are on this experience personally, or people who, you want to make a lot of money, you get to really, experience vicariously through someone else this strong desire to do so, and also bumping up along the mistakes that you might encounter along the way. So it gives you a preview into that life without having to maybe give up everything to pursue it. Andrew Wilkinson is somebody I first heard on the My First Million podcast, and he strikes me as somebody who's not your typical definition of a billionaire. He comes across as, someone who has humility, someone who is humble. There are pieces of yourself that you'll see in Andrew as you read. And I find that it'll help you really re-examine your relationship with what is enough. Book number 6 is Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World by David Epstein. If you consider yourself a generalist like myself, or you're simply a human that's caught between juggling multiple interests, you're going to feel very seen as you read this book. It's like we've been waiting years for someone to come along to do the research and deep dive into topics like this, and David Epstein is the perfect writer to do it. I have so many highlights from this book, but one that stands out to me is the more constrained and repetitive a challenge, the more likely it will be automated, while great rewards will accrue to those who can take conceptual knowledge from one problem or domain and apply it in an entirely new one. Book number 7 is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. I read this book first on Kindle when I was going through the creative project of writing Padma Hall, and I find myself coming back and doing a reread of this book before initiating a new creative project that is important to me. I find myself discovering new things, and of course, reading parts of this book with that project in mind. The feel of the fabric-styled cover in your hands just gives off a really premium feeling when you're reading it yourself or when you gift it to someone. Rick Rubin covers the creative experience in a way that's broad enough for anyone to apply to their craft, but also specific enough to describe the moments that we're going to experience, regardless of the creative project we're working on. Here are a few highlights that I really enjoyed from the book. The first one is, if you know what you want to do and you do it, that's the work of a craftsman. If you begin with a question and use it to guide an adventure of discovery, that's the work of an artist. The next one I wanted to share is, a practice is the embodiment of an approach to a concept. This can support us in bringing about a desired state of mind. And then the last highlight is, there's an abundant reservoir of high quality information in our subconscious, and finding ways to access it can spark new material to draw from. Now, book number 8 is Poor Charlie's Almanac by Charlie Munger. This book is a collection of Charlie Munger's speeches and interviews over the year, and a large majority of them you can find for free all over the internet. I find that Charlie Munger is someone who can resonate with people beyond the world of finance. His obsession with learning, multidisciplinary thinking, and mental models is the stuff that kind of drew me in. Similar to The Creative Act, there's something really nice about the packaging of this book, and on the back cover there's just one quote, and it's my favorite Charlie Munger quote, and it reads, "There's an old 2-part rule that often works wonders in business, science, and elsewhere. Number 1, take a simple basic idea, and 2, take it very seriously." Number 9 is The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Robert Greene is one of my favorite writers of all time. Mastery is a book of his that has had a deep impact on me over the last 15 years or so. And his books can be very dense for the average reader, but it is very complete. So he writes about topics such as power, seduction, mastery, strategy, and human nature. And so you'll discover gems through flipping through the daily laws that you may otherwise never discover, or you may just not experience it the same way. I find that this daily companion styled book where you can absorb an idea in less than a page is really exciting. These formats that'll have you thinking, reflecting, and acting with the guidance of a mentor like Robert Greene. Here's a quote from the book Mastery, which I'm sure is somewhere across the daily laws as well. But our times might emphasize equality, which we then mistake for the need for everyone to be the same. But what we really mean by this is the equal chance for people to express their differences, to let 1,000 flowers bloom. If you want to grab any of the books that we discussed today, make sure to check out the links in the description below. I appreciate you taking the time and hanging out, and I will see you on the next one.